suffering from obvious discrimination. If we try and consolidate all these monies into one basket, some people are bound to be disadvantaged. And most of us might not really even be able to access educational level to higher levels. I personally, myself, Fred, I'll tell you, I'm a big beneficiary of bursaries when it was still under the CDF. But then again, we must also look at the Constitution and the law. If the Constitution says you've not devolved education as a function, so the counties are only left with the early childhood education and tertiary issues, then that should be it. But then again, it's a conversation that we must have. What we are really interested in at the Senate, because there's a hue and a public outcry there that senators are opposed to bursaries. It is not true. We just want to have a conversation in this country that secures the right to education for every child. Because as it is now, governors and these people who have bursaries are basically using it as a political tool. They will even go ahead and say in 2027, if you don't elect me into office, you will not get the bursary you are getting. But not everyone gets this bursary, Fred. It's not everyone. It's either you know someone, or it's either there's some connection somewhere, and some governors are bold enough to say, you didn't vote for me, so I cannot give you guys bursaries. And you can imagine, they don't pay the whole school fees. You can find someone with a fee balance of 30,000 and they're getting 10,000. And the governor would actually do a whole celebration, ferry people, they spend fare to come and get a check for 10,000. If you do the costings, Fred, you realize that that parent has just benefited by 5,000 shillings. The huge balance is still there. So I think we must delink the politics from the bursary program. Otherwise, it is a very awesome program to run. It is going to support most of us who really aspire to get much more education. But my own issue, and the issue that the Senate is raising, is that we've really politicized the bursaries, and it needs to be structured in a way every young Kenyan or every Kenyan child has access to these bursaries without knowing it, without having to beg for an. I saw a photo the other day circulating, I'm sure you saw it, of an old lady, I think in a constituency, it should be these sides of Luanyans, kneeling before an MP just to get a 5,000 shillings check for bursary. I mean, it is inhumane. It's inhumane.
Yes. And it's interesting you bring that up, because the issue of even CDF, CDF is a big debate.
Yes.
And if MPs are really infringing on the roles of counties and in as far as development is concerned, and there's this push and pull about the road maintenance levy.
Yes.
This debate, this is 12 years on. As a senator, and the Senate's role is partly to defend and protect the interests of the devolved units. What do you feel is a problem, and do you feel overpowered by the other house when it comes to defending counties?
Not at all, because we draw a mandate from Article 96 of the Constitution, and we must protect devolution at all costs. But then again, Fred, as you do so, you must also strive to strike a balance between the counties and national government agencies. And you would imagine right now there is some sort of sibling rivalry between the Senate and the National Assembly. And that is, I mean, we've had many issues in terms of concurrence, who originates a bill. We want to have a much more enabled space within which to bring in legislation. And that's something we are discussing as senators, and perhaps we will need to push through an amendment to the law so that the Senate also can be given a much more enhanced powers in terms of legislation. Otherwise, we will always be going back to the National Assembly to ask for assistance in terms of pushing through laws. But let me briefly comment on the NGCDF and the discussion on whether to have it or not. I know the courts have many times pronounced themselves on the fact that it is unquestionable. But then if you look at what CDF is doing to the Mwananchi on the ground, I mean, I support CDF being entrenched in law. I support the fact that CDF is running programs that can be seen. I'm not saying the counties are not doing much, but you see, when you have an MP who can construct a police station, an MP who do centers, I mean, that is material development in this country. And you cannot say CDF should be abolished because MPs solely should just be oversighting and representation and all that.
You support the push to give more funds to the MPs as opposed to the governors, to the counties, a case in point, the road maintenance levy?
I think we got it right by giving funds to the county governments in terms of RMLF, because I feel already MPs have quite a lot in their pocket, and it's up to the county governors to be able to push through these road maintenance funds. But my only issue is that it's still little, and there's been delayed disbursement.